The Forgotten Skill of Thinking. Introduction: A mind left behind. Once upon a time, thinking was a quiet craft, an internal conversation, a long walk with the mind, a sacred space untouched by urgency. In ancient courtyards and candlelit studies, people paused to ponder. They challenged ideas, explored meaning, and reflected before they reacted. Thinking was not rushed. It was revered. But today, thinking has become the forgotten skill. In a world that celebrates speed, distraction, and superficial noise, deep thought has quietly slipped through the cracks. We skim, scroll, like, and share, but we rarely stop to ask, what do I truly think? Instead, we echo opinions, download beliefs, and outsource our judgment to headlines, hashtags, and algorithms. Our mental muscles are underused, and our capacity to reason, reflect, and decide with clarity has weakened. And yet, thinking is the very skill that shapes our lives. It is the foundation of wisdom, the birthplace of breakthroughs, and the compass for a meaningful life. Every decision we make, every belief we carry, every emotion we wrestle with, every path we choose, they all begin in the mind. Thinking is not a luxury, it's a survival skill. This book is a quiet rebellion against the noise. It's a guide, a reminder, and a revival. Here, we'll explore what thinking really means, not just remembering information or reacting emotionally, but the deliberate act of examining, understanding, questioning, and creating. You'll learn how to think clearly, calmly, and consciously in a world that often encourages the opposite. Whether you're a student overwhelmed by choices, a leader trying to make better decisions, a parent hoping to raise thoughtful children, or simply a curious soul longing for clarity, you belong here. This journey isn't about becoming a philosopher or a genius. It's about becoming someone who pauses before reacting, who asks better questions, and who sees through the fog of mental noise. It's about reawakening the most human of abilities, the power to think. So take a deep breath. Silence the noise for just a moment. You're about to rediscover a forgotten skill that could change everything. Chapter 1: The Age of Noise. There has never been a time in human history when our minds have been more under siege. Every waking moment is filled with alerts, pings, updates, and interruptions. The average person today receives more stimuli in a single day than someone a century ago might have encountered in a month. We live in the age of noise, not the kind you hear with your ears, but the kind that clutters your mind. Think about it. Before you've even finished your morning coffee, your brain has likely been exposed to dozens of messages, emails from work, trending headlines, social media scrolls, group chat banter, maybe a podcast, a YouTube video, or a couple of reels that you can't even remember watching. We call it staying informed or being productive. But what we're really doing is filling every crevice of silence with input, without giving ourselves a moment to process it. This endless stream of information does something dangerous. It prevents thought from taking root. Deep thinking requires space. It needs silence. It thrives on boredom, stillness, and reflection. But the modern world has waged war on all of those. Our attention is sliced into tiny fragments. Our focus has become so fragile that we often can't sit through a 5-minute video without checking our phones. We've trained our brains to react, not reflect. And here's the unsettling truth. The system is designed this way. Big tech platforms profit from our attention. Social media feeds are engineered to keep us addicted, feeding us just enough novelty, controversy, or validation to keep us scrolling. News media thrives on outrage and urgency, pumping out headlines that make us anxious and angry because that's what gets clicks. Even productivity tools, which promise to help us work smarter, can become yet another layer of digital distraction. We are drowning in data, but starving for wisdom. We consume more content than ever before, but we rarely pause to digest it. Instead of thinking deeply about one meaningful idea, we bounce between 100 shallow ones. The more we consume, the less we reflect. The more we react, the less we reason. This isn't just an individual problem, it's a societal one. When A culture stops thinking, it becomes vulnerable. We start believing without questioning. We adopt opinions without understanding their roots. We confuse noise for knowledge and reaction for intelligence. It becomes easy to manipulate, to mislead, to control. A population that no longer thinks critically is easily swayed by influencers, ideologies, or marketing slogans. That's not freedom. That's intellectual captivity. But the most tragic part? We don't even realize it's happening. We've become so used to the noise that silence feels uncomfortable, so we fill every gap. Waiting in line, scroll, sitting in traffic, stream, feeling lonely, post. Thinking has become so foreign that we reach for distraction the moment our mind is alone. But here's the paradox. In this noisy world, thinking is rebellion. Choosing to think, truly think, is a radical act. It means stepping out of the current. It means disconnecting, even briefly, to reconnect with something deeper. It means questioning what you're told, wondering what's true, and asking yourself what you really believe, not just what you've absorbed from the internet. Let's be clear. This isn't about rejecting technology. It's about using it wisely. The problem isn't our tools. It's how we let them use us. When we fill every moment with input, we lose the ability to create output. When we're always reacting, we stop initiating. When we always consume, we forget how to contemplate. Imagine this. What would happen if you gave yourself just 30 minutes, a day of uninterrupted, device-free time to simply think? Not meditate, not journal, not plan, just think about your life, your goals, a problem you're facing, a question you've avoided, an idea that excites you. At first, it might feel awkward, maybe even uncomfortable. Your mind might race and you'll want to reach for your phone out of habit. But stay with it. Sit in the silence. Let your thoughts unfold. Because that discomfort, that's the stretching of a long neglected muscle. That's your mind waking up. You see, thinking is like any other skill. If you don't use it, you lose it. But if you exercise it even gently, it grows stronger. And once it returns, it changes everything. You become more focused, more insightful, less reactive, more grounded. Your decisions improve, your creativity expands. You begin to live with intention instead of instinct. In the age of noise, the thinker is a rare and powerful being. So as we move forward in this book, I invite you to embrace a new kind of quiet. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of thought. Let's pull back from the noise, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Let's observe how our minds have been shaped, and let's begin the work of reshaping them. Because beneath all the distractions, beneath the surface-level content, beneath the chaos of everyday life, your ability to think is still there, waiting, ready. All it needs is your attention. Chapter 2. What is thinking, really? Let's pause for a moment and ask a seemingly simple question. What does it really mean to think? It's easy to assume we're thinking all the time. After all, the mind never stops buzzing, narrating our day, solving problems, replaying memories, worrying about the future. But that inner chatter isn't always thinking. In fact, more often than not, it's just mental noise. Repetitive, reactive, automatic. Thinking is something much deeper. It's not simply remembering or worrying or even analyzing. It's not reacting to a headline or debating someone on social media. And it's definitely not multitasking while half listening to a podcast. Those are all mental activities, yes, but they're not thinking in its purest form. True thinking is the deliberate act of engaging with your mind to explore, to question, to understand. It's when you choose to use your mental faculties, not just to remember what you've been told, but to examine what you believe. It's when you pause, dig beneath the surface, and seek clarity instead of confirmation. The 3 layers of mind activity. To better understand what thinking really is, it helps to break it down into 3 layers. Remembering. This is the most basic layer. Remembering is when your brain retrieves stored information, facts, names, dates, instructions, memories. It's incredibly useful, of course. You rely on it every day. But it's passive. It doesn't require engagement or analysis. It's just pulling files from the mental archive. Think about how often people confuse remembering with thinking. Someone quotes a fact or statistic and feels wise, but that's not thinking. That's reciting. It's the difference between holding a book and actually reading it. Reacting. The second layer is reacting. This is where emotion and instinct jump in. It's when you see something, feel something, and respond immediately. Someone insults you and you snap back. You read a shocking headline and you share it without checking the source. You hear a viewpoint that opposes yours, and you get defensive. Reactions are fast, automatic, and emotional. They come from deep parts of the brain, regions that evolved for survival, not wisdom. While sometimes necessary, reacting isn't thinking. It bypasses reflection. And in a world of social media, outrage culture, and instant news, we live in reaction mode far too often. Thinking now, we arrive at the highest layer. True thinking. This is slow, intentional, effortful. It's when you stop the automatic loop of reaction and start asking questions. It's when you explore an idea, consider opposing views, follow a chain of logic, or break something down to its core principles. Thinking is what separates humans from machines. It's where wisdom lives. It's where understanding begins. Imagine reading a controversial opinion online. A reaction would be to argue. A thoughtless memory might recall a counterpoint you once heard. But thinking would pause and ask, is this idea valid? What are the assumptions behind it? Why do I feel triggered? What do I actually believe and why? Thinking isn't about having the answer. It's about asking better questions. Why we avoid. True thinking. If thinking is so powerful, why do we do it so little? Because it's hard. Thinking takes effort. It's mentally taxing. It forces us to sit in ambiguity, to wrestle with complexity, to confront our own ignorance. It's far easier to react with emotion or repeat what someone else said than to struggle through a thought and arrive at original insight. Plus, our culture doesn't reward thinking. It rewards speed, clicks, shares, reactions. The person who shouts loudest, who posts fastest, who goes viral, not the person who pauses to ponder. We've created a world where thinking feels like a disadvantage, but thinking is never a disadvantage. It's a superpower. It gives you clarity when others are confused. It gives you calm when others are panicking. It gives you depth when the world feels shallow. It protects you from manipulation, misinformation, and mental fatigue. Thinking as a creative act. Here's another truth. Thinking is not just analytical, it's creative. When you think deeply, you're not just solving problems. You're shaping ideas, you're forming new mental connections, you're synthesizing concepts into something original. That's why so many great thinkers are also great creators. Whether it's writing, designing, inventing, or leading, creation begins in thought. Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Why? Because knowledge can be memorized. But imagination, deep thinking, is where breakthroughs are born. So when you take time to think, you're not wasting time. You're creating space for insight to emerge. Cultivating the thinking mind. Here are a few simple practices to begin reawakening your thinking mind. Ask why, often. The most powerful thinkers question assumptions. They don't accept things at face value. Begin asking, why do I believe this? Where did this idea come from? What if the opposite were true? Slow down. Thinking needs time. Don't rush to respond. Pause. Breathe. Create distance between stimulus and response. That gap is where wisdom grows. Write to clarify. Journaling or jotting down thoughts helps you organize and refine your thinking. If you can't explain something clearly, you may not understand it yet. Engage in deep reading. Read books that challenge you, not just those you agree with. Let your mind wrestle with complex, nuanced ideas. Talk to thinkers. Have conversations with people who don't just react, but reflect. Surround yourself with minds that question, not just echo. From mental noise to mental clarity, when you begin to think deliberately, you'll notice a shift. Life feels slower but richer. Your conversations become deeper. Your decisions become clearer. You start living with purpose, not just momentum. You realize you don't have to absorb every opinion or chase every trend. You become the author of your mind, not just a passive character being written by the world. So the next time your brain feels full but your thoughts feel scattered, ask yourself, am I really thinking or just remembering and reacting? True thought is a skill, a sacred one, and it's time we reclaim it. Chapter 3. The Power of Reflection. Imagine standing beside a quiet lake. The water is still like glass. You can see your face clearly in its surface. But throw a stone, and the ripples distort everything. This is the nature of the human mind. In Navio. Today's hyperactive world, most of our minds are like stormy seas, agitated by endless noise, interruptions, distractions. Rarely do we let the water settle. Rarely do we pause, look inward, and simply reflect. But reflection isn't a luxury. It's a necessity, especially now. In fact, reflection may be the most underused superpower in modern life. What is reflection? Reflection is the process of looking inward with awareness. It's the act of stepping back to observe your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and then asking yourself why. What does this mean? What can I learn? It's not about judgment, it's about insight. While thinking often moves outward, analyzing problems, forming opinions, reflection moves inward. It's about understanding yourself, your patterns, your triggers, your decisions, your beliefs. Think of it as a mirror for the mind, a quiet moment where your thoughts can settle and your true self can surface. Why we need it now, more than ever in a world of endless scrolling, rapid content, and constant input, reflection has become rare. We consume far more than we process. We react before we understand. We move before we think. But what's the cost? We lose clarity. We lose control. We forget why we do what we do. Without reflection, we repeat our mistakes. We get stuck in loops. We let external voices drown out our inner wisdom. And yet, when we reflect, even for just a few minutes a day, we reconnect with something deeper, our own voice, our truth, our purpose. The 2 levels of reflection. Let's break reflection down into 2 levels: daily reflection and deep reflection. Daily reflection, the mental cleanse. This is the short, consistent practice of checking in with yourself. It could be 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes before bed, a walk without your phone, a moment of stillness during lunch. The questions here are simple but profound. What am I feeling right now? What thoughts have dominated my day? What did I learn today? Did I live today with intention or reaction? Think of this as brushing your mental teeth, clearing the residue of the day, releasing clutter and returning to center. Even one small pause, one moment of presence can shift the entire course of your day. Deep reflection, the inner excavation. This is more intense, more intentional. It's when you take time, perhaps on weekends, retreats, or during major life transitions, to look inward and ask the big questions. What are my core values? Where is my life headed? What fears are driving my choices? What wounds still shape my behavior? What truth am I avoiding? This is soul work. It's uncomfortable at times, but transformative. It clears away illusions. It realigns your compass. It builds self-awareness, something most people lack yet desperately need. As Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Reflection is how we make the unconscious conscious. The science of reflection. Modern research backs up what ancient wisdom has long known. Reflection improves decision-making, emotional intelligence, and well-being. Studies show that people who reflect regularly learn faster, make wiser choices, handle stress better, feel more fulfilled, Reflection activates parts of the brain associated with insight, empathy, and long-term planning. It also quiets the amygdala, the reactive part of the brain that fuels fear and anger. In other words, reflection helps you become less reactive and more intentional. It makes you mentally stronger, calmer, and clearer. Reflection versus rumination. Let's clear up a common misunderstanding. Reflection is not rumination. Rumination is when you replay the same negative thought again and again. It's emotional looping, like scratching the same wound. Reflection, on the other hand, is constructive. It's directed, it's purposeful. You examine the thought, explore its meaning, and let it go. The difference? Rumination traps you. Reflection frees you. So if your self-inquiry makes you feel heavier and more anxious, you may be ruminating. But if it leaves you clearer, lighter, more aligned, that's reflection. How to reflect in practice. Let's explore simple ways to bring reflection into your daily life. Journaling, one of the most powerful tools for reflection. You don't need to be a writer. Just ask yourself a question and write down whatever comes up. Start with prompts like, what did I learn about myself today? What drained me? What energized me? What would I do differently tomorrow? Your journal becomes a map showing where you've been and pointing to where you want to go. Silent sitting, no phone. No music, no input. Just sit in silence and breathe. Let thoughts come and go. You don't need to chase them. You're not solving anything. You're simply observing. With time, you'll notice patterns. Insights will emerge. Your mind will settle like that still lake. Ask and listen in moments of tension or confusion. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? What am I avoiding? What would my future self want me to know? Then pause. Listen. The answer won't always be immediate. But if you ask with sincerity, the mind responds in time. Walk and reflect movement helps thinking flow. Take a walk without distraction and let your thoughts rise naturally. Some of your clearest moments will come during these simple, silent walks. The wisdom gained from reflection. When you begin reflecting regularly, subtle but profound shifts occur. You become more self-aware. You notice your triggers, your habits, your emotional patterns. You make better decisions. You act with clarity, not impulse. You reconnect with purpose. You remember what truly matters. You grow emotionally. You become more compassionate with yourself and others. Reflection doesn't solve all problems, but it transforms how you meet them. It gives you perspective. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts. You are the one watching the thoughts. Final thoughts. The mirror of the mind. In a society that celebrates action and productivity, reflection might seem like a waste of time. But the truth is, without reflection, our actions become blind. Our productivity becomes busyness. Reflection is the bridge between experience and wisdom. So take that moment, sit quietly, ask the hard question, look inward. Because sometimes, the most powerful insight comes, not from running faster, but from stopping completely. Chapter 4. The Rise of Mental Automation. Have you ever arrived at your destination only to realize you don't remember the drive, or scrolled through your phone, barely aware of what you were looking at? That's mental automation in action, when your mind operates on autopilot, bypassing awareness and repeating patterns without question. We all do it. But in today's world, automation isn't just a quirk, it's a crisis. Our thinking, decisions, and even identities are becoming automated. We're no longer choosing how to think, we're simply reacting, and that's the problem. What is mental automation? Mental automation is when your brain runs habitual programs, behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, without your conscious involvement. These programs are shaped by past experiences, repetition, social conditioning, emotional imprinting. Imagine your mind like a computer. Over time, it installs software, scripts for how to respond in specific situations. Some of these programs serve us: brushing your teeth, driving a familiar route, tying your shoes. But many of them sabotage us. Automatically, judging others, reacting defensively, doubting yourself without reason, thinking I'm not good enough before you even try. These scripts become your default mode, silent and invisible, yet powerful. How we become automated? It begins with repetition. You encounter an experience. Your brain records your response. Do it often enough and the brain locks it in to conserve energy. It becomes second nature. From a survival standpoint, this makes sense. The brain loves shortcuts. Automation saves energy. It allows us to function without overthinking every decision. But here's the catch. The brain doesn't distinguish between helpful automation and harmful automation. It'll automate self-sabotage just as easily as brushing your teeth. And with every unconscious repetition, that mental script digs deeper until it becomes you. The role of modern technology now: mix this with modern life, especially digital life, and you have a dangerous cocktail. Social media, algorithms, ads, clickbait, they all thrive on predictability. They feed on your habits. The more automated you become, the easier you are to manipulate. You see the same kind of content. You react in the same ways. You buy the same things. You adopt the same opinions without critical thought. Big tech doesn't want you thinking. It wants you reacting. And so every swipe, like, and click deepens the grooves in your mental highway, training your brain to run on rails rather than choose its path. This is the rise of mental automation, a silent takeover of your attention, your identity, and your free will. The danger of auto-thinking. The danger isn't that we're thinking wrong. The danger is that we're not thinking at all. We're absorbing, repeating, echoing. Instead of asking, "Is this true?" we say, "This is what everyone's saying." Instead of wondering, "What do I really want?" we chase what's trending. Instead of pausing to reflect, we scroll to distract. When mental automation dominates, you become a mirror of the world around you, shaped by forces you don't control, driven by ideas you didn't choose, and living a life you didn't consciously build. Signs: you're on autopilot. Let's identify the signs that your mind might be running on autopilot. You start your day with your phone and feel scattered within minutes. You react with irritation or anxiety before even knowing why. You scroll through hours of content but don't remember what you saw. You repeat negative thoughts you've never questioned. You go through your routine but feel emotionally disconnected. The truth is, you might be doing a lot but thinking very little. The cost of an automated mind. An automated mind can lead to poor decisions made on impulse, not insight. Anxiety from overstimulation and under-reflection. Shallow relationships lacking emotional depth. Identity confusion. Who am I really? A life lived by default, not by design. Mental automation is like being awake in a dream, unaware that you're dreaming. Until you pause and observe, you won't know how much you're sleepwalking through life. Reclaiming your mental freedom. So how do you break free from the automation trap? You reclaim the forgotten skill of conscious thinking. Here's how. Interrupt. The pattern: become aware of your habits, especially the small mindless ones. Reach for your phone. Pause. Ask, why? About to react emotionally? Breathe. Delay your response. Hear a familiar negative thought? Challenge it. Awareness is the first disruption. It's the moment when the automatic becomes visible. Create mental space. Mental automation thrives on clutter. To break free, create silence. Go for a walk without your phone. Drive in silence without music or podcasts. Sit in stillness for 5 minutes daily. These quiet moments are where real thinking returns. Ask better questions. Automation runs on assumptions. Thinking begins with questions. Start asking, is this thought true? Who told me this? And do I agree? What am I feeling and what is it trying to tell me? Is this reaction aligned with who I want to be? Good questions shatter the walls of mental routine. Design new inputs. You become what you consume. Break the loop by changing your inputs. Read thinkers who challenge you. Spend time with people who make you reflect, not just react. Unfollow noise. Subscribe to depth. If you feed your mind better, your thoughts will follow. From automation to intention, automation is not the enemy. Mindless automation is. The goal isn't to erase all habits, but to choose them consciously. You can automate good thinking just as easily as bad. You can form routines of awareness. You can train your mind to pause, to reflect, to evaluate. When you do, something shifts. You stop reacting. You start choosing. You begin to live intentionally, not as a puppet of your programming, but as the author of your own mind. Chapter 5. The Lost Art of Asking. Why, when was the last time you stopped and genuinely asked yourself, why do I believe this? Not what you believe, not how it works, but why? This single three-letter question, why, once fueled revolutions, discoveries, and personal transformations. Children ask it relentlessly. Scientists build empires of knowledge on it. Great minds live inside it. But somewhere along the way, we stopped asking. We settled for answers given to us by systems, screens, and social norms. And in doing so, we surrendered the foundation of independent thought. Why matters. Why is not just a question. It's a lens, a way of seeing. It's how you challenge the status quo. It's how you uncover your true motivations. It's how you peel back the layers of conditioning to reach your authentic self. Without asking why, we become passive, recipients of information, accepting things as they are, never questioning if they should be different. Why is the gateway to depth, the childlike genius of why. Think about a child. Before school systems, before judgment, before ego, a child lives in a constant state of inquiry. Why is the sky blue? Why do I have to do that? Why can't I fly? To adults, these questions might seem naive or even annoying, but they are signs of a curious, awake mind, a mind that doesn't take reality at face value. Curiosity isn't childish, it's a mark of intelligence. But the moment we're taught to stop asking so many questions, we start to shut down our thinking. We begin to accept instead of explore. The comfort of answers. One reason we stop asking why is because answers are comforting. They give us certainty, they provide closure. But comfort is not the goal of thinking. Growth is, and growth only happens in discomfort, in questioning the very beliefs we've clung to for years. Think of your most deeply held opinions. Your views about success, love, money, God, work, education, identity. Have you ever paused and asked, why do I believe this? Not to destroy your beliefs, but to own them, because until you examine them, they're not really yours. The systems that kill curiosity. Let's be honest, our world doesn't reward questioning. It rewards compliance. Schools teach answers, not inquiry. Workplaces value execution, not examination. Media delivers opinions, not open-ended dialogue. Culture promotes trends, not truth-seeking. In such a world, asking why makes you inconvenient, slow, disruptive, but that's exactly what deep thinkers are, and that's what the world needs now, more inconvenient thinkers. More people, willing to pause the noise and dig beneath the surface, the fear behind the silence. Sometimes we avoid asking why because we're afraid of the answer. What if I don't like what I discover? What if my beliefs are based on fear, not truth? What if I've lived someone else's life, not mine? These fears are real, but they are also the doorway to freedom. Because in confronting them, you begin to reclaim your mind. You realize you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing your thoughts, the one asking the questions. That's where power lives. Practicing the why. Habit. So how do you bring back the lost art of asking why? You make it a habit. Here's how to start. Question your beliefs. Pick a belief you hold, something you consider just the way it is. Now ask, why do I believe this? Where did this belief come from? Does it serve me or limit me? What would I believe if I weren't afraid? Don't rush the answers. Sit with the question. 2. Challenge cultural norms. Next time you hear something that everyone believes, pause. Ask, why is this idea so popular? Who benefits from it? Is it true or just accepted? Culture is full of assumptions disguised as truth. Dissect them. Interrogate your reactions. When you feel triggered, defensive, or emotional, stop. Ask, why am I reacting this way? Is this about the present or something older? What story am I telling myself? Emotions are messengers. Why is the key to understanding them. Reclaim your desires. Often, we chase goals without questioning where they came from. Ask, why? Do I want this? Is this goal truly mine? What would I pursue if I were free of external pressure? You'll be amazed how many of your goals were inherited, not chosen. The layered power of why. The power of why is that it doesn't just give answers. It gives layers. Each time you ask again, you peel back another level. I want to be successful. Why? Because I want respect. Why? Because I never felt seen growing up. Now you're getting somewhere. Why leads you not just to truth, but to yourself. When to stop asking? There's a point when why becomes circular, when questioning turns into overthinking, when depth becomes a trap. That's when you move from why to what now. Reflection must lead to action. Don't just ask to analyze, ask to awaken, and then live differently because of it. Chapter 6. Thinking versus overthinking. There's a fine line between insight and anxiety, between clarity and chaos, between healthy reflection and paralyzing rumination. And that line is the one between thinking and overthinking. In a world that glorifies constant mental activity, we often confuse busyness of the brain with brilliance. But let's make something clear. Thinking is a skill. Overthinking is a habit. What is thinking? Let's begin with what thinking truly is. Real thinking is focused, purposeful, calm, solution-oriented, expansive. Thinking allows you to consider possibilities, weigh outcomes, understand perspectives, and make conscious decisions. It brings insight, resolution, and direction. True thinking quiets the noise. It simplifies. It connects the dots. What is overthinking? Overthinking is something else entirely. It feels like thinking, but it's actually a loop, a mental spiral that goes nowhere. It looks like this: replaying the same conversation in your mind 20 times, analyzing every what-if scenario until you're frozen in fear, creating problems that don't exist, second-guessing every decision, even after it's made. Overthinking is not intelligence. It's mental noise in disguise. And worst of all, it feels productive. Why we fall into overthinking? So why do we do it? Because overthinking feels safe. It creates the illusion of control. We believe that if we just think a little more, we'll prevent failure, pain, or embarrassment. But the truth is, overthinking doesn't prevent disasters. It creates them. We become trapped in our heads, disconnected from our instincts, cut off from the present moment. It's not thinking, it's drowning. Signs you're overthinking. You might be overthinking if you replay past events repeatedly. You constantly worry about the future. You struggle to make decisions. You seek reassurance over and over. You're mentally exhausted but still feel unresolved. You can't focus on the now because your mind is elsewhere. If your thoughts don't lead to clarity, action, or peace, they're likely overthinking. The neuroscience of overthinking. Your brain is wired for survival, not happiness. When you overthink, your amygdala, the brain's fear center, kicks in. It sees danger and uncertainty. It floods your system with anxiety. This triggers a feedback loop. More fear, more thinking, more fear. You become hyper-analytical, not insightful. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and reasoning, gets hijacked by emotion and fear. The result? Mental fog, indecision, and stress. From mental clutter to clarity, to escape overthinking, you don't need to think more clearly. You need to think less often. Here's how to break the pattern. Name it. The moment you realize you're spiraling, pause and say, "This is overthinking." Labeling it helps you detach from it. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Ask better questions. Overthinking thrives on vague, emotional questions. What if this goes wrong? Why am I like this? What if they don't like me? Replace them with questions that lead to clarity. What can I control right now? What's the next step I can take? What's the actual evidence? Good questions guide the mind out of loops and into solutions. Limit decision windows. Overthinkers stall on decisions. So set a limit for small decisions. Give yourself 5 minutes. For medium ones, 24 hours. For big ones, a week. After that, decide, trust, move. Decisions made with clarity often work. Decisions delayed by fear rarely do. Return to your senses. Overthinking lives in your head. Presence lives in your body. Use your senses to come back. Feel your feet on the ground. Focus on your breath. Listen to ambient sounds. Touch something with texture. These simple acts anchor you in now, where thinking turns into clarity. Thinking requires space. Here's the paradox. To think better, think less frequently. Deep thinking doesn't happen when your mind is filled with noise. It happens in space. That's why silence, solitude, and rest are essential. Take walks without your phone. Sit in stillness for 10 minutes a day. Let your brain breathe. Your most profound insights won't scream at you. They will whisper in the quiet, trusting the pause. Overthinking is a fear-based response. It comes from not trusting life. But deep thinkers learn to trust the pause. They learn that clarity emerges when they stop chasing it. They know that the mind, when left alone, begins to organize itself. Your job is not to force insights, but to create the conditions for insights to arrive. And that means knowing when to step back. Thought versus wisdom. Let's end this chapter with a distinction. Thought is a tool. Wisdom is a state. Thinking is what you do. Wisdom is what you access when you think less and listen more. That's what lies beyond overthinking. That's what we're returning to. Chapter 7. Mental clarity in a noisy world. The modern world is loud. It's not just the sounds of traffic, phones, and crowded spaces. It's the mental noise, the barrage of opinions, updates, notifications, and expectations constantly competing for our attention. And in this storm of voices, clarity isn't just rare, it's sacred. But here's the truth most people never learn. Mental clarity is not something you find, it's something you create. It doesn't come from getting everything done, it comes from choosing what matters and letting the rest fall away. The enemy of clarity, cognitive clutter. I start with what's clouding your mind. Cognitive clutter is the buildup of thoughts, worries, unfinished tasks, digital distractions, open loops, and background anxiety that hum in your brain like static. Here's how it shows up. You can't focus for more than a few minutes. You feel mentally foggy even after a full night's sleep. You start one task, then hop to another before finishing. You feel drained without doing anything physically tiring. It's not your fault. The world is designed to fragment your attention, but your power lies in protecting your inner environment. Step 1. Clean your mental desk. Just like a cluttered desk makes it hard to work, a cluttered mind makes it hard to think. Here's how to clean it. 1. Brain dump. Every morning, take 5 minutes to write down everything on your mind. Tasks, ideas, worries, reminders. Get it out. When your thoughts are on paper, they don't have to live in your head. This frees up precious mental space. Use the 3-task rule. Each day, choose 3 key tasks, not 10, not 20, just 3. Focusing on less makes you more effective, and it keeps your mind from becoming chaotic with too many open loops. Silence the background apps. Just like your phone drains battery with apps running in the background, your brain does the same. Clear the apps. Resolve lingering conflicts. Make that overdue decision. Delete tasks that don't matter anymore. Every unfinished thought takes up mental RAM. Free it. Step 2. Reduce digital noise. Your devices are designed to steal your attention. If you don't manage them, they'll manage your mind. Try these powerful changes. Turn off non-essential notifications. Every ping is a thought fragment. Silence them. Let your attention belong to you again. Create digital boundaries. No screens 1 hour after waking. No social media 1 hour before bed. A focus mode time daily. No phone, no distractions. Even 1 hour of digital silence can restore clarity like a cold drink on a hot day. Curate your inputs. Be intentional about what you consume. Follow fewer people. Read deeper content. Choose quality over quantity. Your mental diet is just as important as your physical one. Step 3. Build a thinking sanctuary. To think clearly, you need space. A sanctuary for your thoughts. This doesn't have to be a monastery. It can be a quiet room with no devices, a walk in the early morning, a chair by the window, a short journaling ritual with a warm drink. What matters is the intention. This is a space for thinking, not reacting. In that space, your mind slows down. It breathes. It starts to hear itself again. Step 4. Practice single tasking. Multitasking is a myth. It splits your focus, scatters your energy, and leads to shallow work. Single tasking is the path to mental clarity. When you give your full attention to one thing at a time, you feel calmer. You make fewer mistakes. You finish tasks faster. You experience deep flow. This is how thinkers think. One thought, one task, one breath at a time. Step 5. Embrace silence. We fear silence because it feels empty. But in truth, silence is full. It's full of wisdom. When the world gets loud, silence is your refuge. It's where the noise ends and clarity begins. Ways to practice silence. Drive without music or podcasts. Take a walk with no headphones. Meditate for 5 to 10 minutes daily. Sit with a cup of tea and just be. It's in this quiet that the fog lifts. You begin to remember what matters. What clarity feels. Like mental clarity is not just about thinking more effectively. It feels different. It feels like calmness under pressure, confidence in your decisions, energy that doesn't leak into 20 directions, freedom from reactivity, inner spaciousness, like there's finally room to breathe. Clarity isn't the absence of challenges. It's the ability to face them without confusion. It doesn't make life easier, but it makes you stronger. A clear mind is a powerful mind. Let's wrap up with this truth. The clearer your mind, the stronger your life. Mental clarity gives you better judgment, deeper focus, more creativity, stronger presence, a sense of control in a chaotic world, and most importantly, it brings you back to yourself. Because beneath all the noise, you already know what to do. You already have wisdom. Inside you, you just need to hear it, and that only happens when in clarity. Chapter 8. The Lost Art of Deep Reflection. We live in an age of rapid reaction. Swipe, scroll, respond, move on. In the blink of an eye, we consume opinions, make decisions, and form judgments, all without ever pausing to ask, what do I really think? What does this mean to me? What's the deeper truth here? That's the tragedy of the modern mind. We know more, but understand less, because we've forgotten the quiet, powerful act of reflection. What is reflection? Reflection is not thinking about a topic in passing. It's not daydreaming or worrying. Reflection is the act of stepping back to see the full picture. It's deliberate, focused, honest. It's when you ask yourself deep questions, when you revisit experiences to extract meaning, when you connect dots between past, present, and future. Reflection turns moments into wisdom. Without reflection, we repeat. With it, we evolve. Why we stopped reflecting in our culture of urgency, reflection seems unproductive. We're taught to do more, not to think more. Here's why deep reflection is rare today. Speed. The faster we live, the less time we take to look inward. Distraction. Noise drowns the silence required for insight. Fear. We avoid reflection because we're scared of what we'll find inside. Ego. We assume we already know everything we need to know, but in skipping reflection, we lose perspective. And without perspective, we live on autopilot. The power of reflection. Reflection isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for a well-lived life. Here's what it gives you: self-awareness. You begin to understand your motivations, triggers, patterns, and desires. This is the foundation of emotional intelligence. Better decisions. When you reflect, you don't just react, you respond with intention. You spot patterns, learn from mistakes, and choose wisely. Clarity of values. Through reflection, you remember what truly matters, what you stand for. In a noisy world, this is your compass. Emotional healing. Unprocessed emotions linger in the background. Reflection allows you to feel, understand, and release them. It's mental housekeeping for the soul. Growth. Every failure, every success, every moment becomes a teacher. But only if you reflect. The 3 types of reflection. There are many ways to reflect, but they usually fall into 3 categories. Reflecting on the past. Look back not to regret, but to learn. Ask, what happened? Why did I respond that way? What lesson can I take forward? Reflecting in the present. This is mindfulness. It's noticing what you're feeling, thinking, and doing right now. Ask, how do I feel in this moment? What is this situation teaching me? Am I aligned with my values right now? 3. Reflecting for the future. Here you imagine who you want to become and bridge the gap between now and then. Ask, what kind of person do I want to be? What needs to change? What's my next step? Powerful questions for deep reflection. Good. Reflection begins with great questions. Here are some that open mental doors. What am I avoiding right now? What belief is holding me back? What did I learn about myself this week? What do I need more of in my life? What do I need less of? If I continue on this path, where will I be in 5 years? Ask these not to judge yourself, but to meet yourself. How to practice reflection. Daily. You don't need hours. You need presence. Here's how to start. Create a reflection ritual. Find 10-15 minutes at the end of your day. Sit quietly. Breathe. Ask yourself reflective questions. Write your answers down if it helps you go deeper. Make this your time for inner clarity. Use a reflection journal. A blank page is a mirror. Write freely. Don't censor. Let your mind unfold. Over time, you'll see patterns and progress. Walk and reflect. Some of your deepest thoughts come when your body is moving and your mind is free. Walk in silence. No music, no podcast, just you and your thoughts. Reflect with others. Reflection doesn't always have to be solitary. Sometimes, a trusted friend or mentor can help you see what you cannot. Ask deep questions. Listen more than you speak. The courage to reflect. Reflection requires courage. The courage to face discomfort. The courage to slow down in a world that wants you to speed up. The courage to admit when you're wrong and to celebrate when you've grown. But those who reflect become the wisest, calmest, most grounded people you'll ever meet, because they don't just live their life, they understand it. and in understanding comes peace. From information to wisdom. We live in an age of information overload, but information without reflection is noise. It's only when you pause, sit with what you've learned, and ask, how does this change me? That you move from knowledge to wisdom. That's where thinkers live. That's where you're returning to. Chapter 9. Reclaiming independent thought in a conformist world. We are wired to belong. From childhood, we learn the safety of fitting in, the comfort of agreement. But there's a quiet cost to conformity. When everyone thinks the same way, progress stops. When we surrender our thinking to the crowd, we lose our voice. We become echoes, not creators. The pressure to conform, from social media to workplaces, from family gatherings to political discourse. Pressure to conform is relentless. It comes, in many forms, the fear of judgment, the desire for approval, the urge to avoid conflict, the invisible rules that shape acceptable ideas. This pressure shapes how we think, often without us noticing. Why independent thought matters. Independent thought is the seed of creativity, innovation, and personal freedom. When you reclaim your mind, you make choices based on your values, not others' expectations. You develop resilience against manipulation. You create original ideas that can change your life and the world. You gain confidence in your own judgment, the cost of not thinking for yourself. Living on autopilot means accepting beliefs you haven't examined, following paths laid out by others, feeling stuck in roles or mindsets that aren't yours, losing touch with your authentic self. How to reclaim. Independent thought 1. Question everything. Start with curiosity. Why do I believe this? Who benefits if I think this way? Is this truth or opinion? Challenge your comfort zone. Independent. Thinking thrives outside familiar territory. Explore opposing views. Read widely and critically. Engage in honest debates without defensiveness. Develop inner confidence. Trust your ability to reason and learn. Reflect on past decisions where your thinking led to success. Accept mistakes as part of growth. Separate your self-worth from others' approval. Limit groupthink traps. Be aware of echo chambers, both online and offline. Diversify your information sources. Avoid jumping on trends without reflection. Seek diverse perspectives. The balance. Listening without losing yourself. Independent thinking doesn't mean isolation or stubbornness. It means listening with openness, but deciding with conviction. It means respecting others' views. Holding your own space. Being willing to change your mind, but not just to please. The power of your unique mind. Remember this. Your thoughts, shaped by your unique experiences, hold immense value. When you think independently, you offer the world something it can't find anywhere else. Your perspective, your voice, your power. Chapter 10. Cultivating curiosity as a thinking habit. Curiosity is the spark. It's the ember that ignites every new idea, every discovery, every breakthrough. Without curiosity, thinking becomes stale, routine, and shallow. But when you cultivate curiosity, thinking blossoms into an adventure. What is curiosity? Curiosity is a deep, eager desire to know and understand. It's not just about asking questions. It's about loving the process of exploration. Curious minds don't settle for easy answers or surface-level facts. They dig deeper. They follow the thread wherever it leads. Why curiosity matters for thinking. Curiosity fuels creative problem-solving. It pushes you to look beyond the obvious. Continuous learning. It keeps your mind sharp and open. Resilience, curious people. See setbacks as puzzles to solve, not roadblocks. Connection. Curiosity about others builds empathy and insight. How to cultivate curiosity. Daily. Ask why, again and again. When you hear an idea or face a problem, don't accept the first answer. Ask yourself, why is that true? Keep peeling back layers like an onion. This technique, sometimes called the 5 whys, helps uncover root causes and deeper understanding. Embrace the beginner's mind. No matter how much you know, approach every topic as if you're a beginner. This mindset opens you to new perspectives, releases judgment, invites discovery. Explore outside your comfort zone. Curiosity thrives on novelty. Try new hobbies, read books outside your usual genres, or talk to people with different experiences. This expands your mental horizons and invites fresh questions. Create a question. Journal, write down questions that come to you throughout the day. No question is too small or silly. Review them regularly and seek answers. This trains your brain to notice and pursue curiosity. Overcoming barriers to curiosity. Sometimes, curiosity fades because of fear of looking ignorant, being overwhelmed by information, habitual routines that discourage questioning. Remember, curiosity is a skill, not just a trait. It can be developed with practice and patience. Curiosity as a way of life. When curiosity becomes a habit, your whole approach to thinking changes. You become more open-minded, less judgmental, more energized, more innovative, and most importantly, you begin to see life itself as a fascinating, endless puzzle. Chapter 10. Cultivating curiosity as a thinking habit. Curiosity is the spark. It's the ember that ignites every new idea, every discovery, every breakthrough. Without curiosity, thinking becomes stale, routine, and shallow. But when you cultivate curiosity, thinking blossoms into an adventure. What is curiosity? Curiosity is a deep, eager desire to know and understand. It's not just about asking questions. It's about loving the process of exploration. Curious minds don't settle for easy answers or surface-level facts. They dig deeper. They follow the thread wherever it leads. Why curiosity matters for thinking. Curiosity fuels creative problem solving. It pushes you to look beyond the obvious. Continuous learning. It keeps your mind sharp and open. Resilience, curious people. See setbacks as puzzles to solve, not roadblocks. Connection. Curiosity about others builds empathy and insight. How to cultivate curiosity. Daily. Ask why again and again. When you hear an idea or face a problem, don't accept the first answer. Ask yourself, why is that true? Keep peeling back layers like an onion. This technique, sometimes called the 5 whys, helps uncover root causes and deeper understanding. Embrace the beginner's mind. No matter how much you know, approach every topic as if you're a beginner. This mindset opens you to new perspectives, releases judgment, invites discovery. Explore outside your comfort zone. Curiosity thrives on novelty. Try new hobbies, read books outside your usual genres, or talk to people with different experiences. This expands your mental horizons and invites fresh questions. Create a question. Journal, write down questions that come to you throughout the day. No question is too small or silly. Review them regularly and seek answers. This trains your brain to notice and pursue curiosity. Overcoming barriers to curiosity. Sometimes, curiosity fades because of fear of looking ignorant, being overwhelmed by information, habitual routines that discourage questioning. Remember, curiosity is a skill, not just a trait. It can be developed with practice and patience. Curiosity as a way of life. When curiosity becomes a habit, your whole approach to thinking changes. You become more open-minded, less judgmental, more energized, more innovative, and most importantly, you begin to see life itself as a fascinating, endless puzzle. Chapter 11. The role of emotional intelligence in thinking. We often think of thinking as purely logical, cold, precise, detached. But the truth is, our emotions are deeply intertwined with how we think. They shape the questions we ask, the way we process information, and the decisions we make. This is where emotional intelligence, or EQ, becomes essential. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, and to empathize with the emotions of others. It's composed of 4 key parts: self-awareness, knowing what you're feeling and why; self-regulation, controlling impulses and emotions; empathy, understanding how others feel; social skills, managing relationships effectively. Why emotional intelligence matters for thinking. Think about moments when you felt overwhelmed by anger or anxiety. How clear was your thinking then? Emotions can cloud judgment, but when managed well, they can also illuminate the path forward. EQ helps you recognize emotional biases that may distort your reasoning. Stay calm under pressure, enabling clearer analysis. Connect with others' perspectives, enriching your own thinking. Make balanced decisions that honor both facts and feelings. Emotional intelligence and cognitive bias. Cognitive biases are shortcuts our brain takes, often unconsciously, that distort thinking. Many biases stem from emotional reactions: fear, pride, attachment. With emotional intelligence, you can spot these biases early. For example, when defensive, you might dismiss valid criticism. When anxious, you might catastrophize outcomes. Being emotionally intelligent means gently catching these moments and choosing a more balanced response. Cultivating emotional intelligence for better thinking. Practice mindful awareness check. In with your emotions throughout the day. Ask, what am I feeling right now? How is this affecting my thoughts? This awareness helps you pause before reacting. Name your emotions. Labeling emotions reduces their intensity and gives you clarity. Instead of "I'm upset," try "I'm feeling frustrated because of." This subtle shift creates space for rational thought. Develop empathy. Try to understand others' feelings without judgment. This expands your mental framework and prevents snap judgments. Respond. Don't react. Take a moment to breathe before responding to emotionally charged situations. This habit strengthens your ability to think clearly under pressure. Emotional intelligence enhances creativity and problem solving. Creativity isn't just about ideas, it's about emotional openness. High EQ allows you to embrace uncertainty without fear, view challenges as opportunities, navigate complex social dynamics and collaborative problem solving. The synergy of heart and mind, true mastery of thinking, comes when logic and emotion work together. You don't suppress feelings, you understand and integrate them. In doing so, your thinking becomes richer, more nuanced, and ultimately more human. Chapter 12, The Power of Asking the Right Questions. Imagine standing before a locked door. No matter how much you push, pull, or force it, the door won't open. But what if you had the key? In the world of thinking, asking the right questions is that key. Questions unlock understanding, spark insight, and guide you through complexity. They are the foundation of all critical, creative, and independent thinking. Why questions are the heart of thinking at its core. Thinking is a dialogue between you and the world, between what you know and what you don't. Questions drive this dialogue. They direct your attention, shape your investigation, and influence the conclusions you draw. Without questions, thinking can become shallow or aimless. Questions propel you forward, inviting you to explore, analyze, and reflect. The difference between good and bad questions. Not all questions are created equal. Some questions trap you in narrow thinking. Others open up new horizons. Consider these examples. Bad question. Is this right or wrong? This limits thinking to a binary choice. Better question. What evidence supports this idea and what contradicts it? This invites balanced analysis. Great question. What assumptions underlie this belief and how might they be challenged? This encourages deep, critical thinking. The quality of your questions often determines the quality of your answers. Types of powerful questions. To cultivate open-ended questions, these questions invite exploration without a simple yes or no answer. Examples: what are the possibilities here? How might this work differently? Open-ended questions foster creativity and discovery. Reflective questions, they prompt you to look inward and examine your own thinking and feelings. Examples: why do I believe this? What biases might I have? Reflective questions deepen self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Challenging questions, these push you to reconsider assumptions and think beyond comfort zones. Examples: what if the opposite were true? What am I missing? Challenging questions cultivate critical thinking and innovation. Future-oriented questions, they help you envision outcomes and possibilities. Examples: what will happen if I take this approach? How can I prepare for challenges ahead? These questions inspire strategic and forward thinking. How to develop the skill of asking the right questions. Cultivate curiosity. Curiosity naturally leads to questions. Practice noticing what puzzles you, what sparks interest or doubt. Ask yourself, what more do I want to know? Pause and reflect. Before answering, instead of rushing to answer, pause and consider. What question am I really trying to answer? Is this the best question to ask? This pause opens space for deeper inquiry. Avoid quick judgments. When confronted with new information, resist the urge to label it right or wrong. Ask instead, what perspectives are here? What evidence supports this? Here, write down your questions. Keep a journal or digital note of questions that arise during reading, conversations, or reflection. Review and expand on these regularly. This practice sharpens your questioning muscle. Practice why and what if. 2 simple question starters that open vast thinking space. Asking why multiple times peels back layers to root causes. Asking what if invites imagination and alternative possibilities. Common barriers to asking. Good questions. Fear of looking ignorant. Many hesitate to ask questions for B. Fear of judgment. Assumption that answers are more important. Focusing too much on answers can blind you to the power of the question. Overconfidence. Believing you already know enough can close the door to new questions. Habitual thinking. Routine mental patterns limit curiosity and inquiry. Overcoming these barriers requires courage, humility, and practice. The ripple effect of good questions. When you ask better questions, your thinking becomes more focused and effective. You identify problems more clearly and uncover better solutions. Conversations become richer and more meaningful. You inspire others to think more deeply too. Questions have the power to transform learning, creativity, leadership, and relationships. Practical exercises to master questioning daily. Question challenge: set a goal to ask at least 3 thoughtful questions every day. Make them open-ended and reflective. Question reframing. Take a common question and reframe it to deepen thinking. Example: original. Why did this fail? Reframed. What lessons can be learned from this failure to improve future outcomes? Question mapping. For a problem or topic, map out a series of related questions from broad to specific. This technique helps organize thinking and reveals connections. Chapter 13. The role of emotional resilience in thinking life is unpredictable. Challenges, setbacks, and stress are inevitable. In these moments, your ability to think clearly can be your greatest asset or your biggest liability. Emotional resilience is the inner strength that allows you to remain steady and thoughtful, even in turbulent times. What is emotional resilience? Emotional resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from emotional setbacks, stress, or adversity. It doesn't mean avoiding difficult emotions, but learning how to manage them skillfully. Resilient thinkers don't crumble under pressure. They adapt, reflect, and respond wisely. Why emotional resilience matters for thinking. When emotions run high, fear, anger, frustration, our thinking often becomes clouded. Impulsive reactions replace careful analysis. Stress narrows focus, limiting creativity and problem solving. Emotional resilience helps you stay calm and grounded in chaos. Maintain perspective without denial or avoidance. Process emotions constructively instead of being overwhelmed. Bounce back from failure and keep moving forward. The connection between resilience and cognitive flexibility. Resilience fuels cognitive flexibility, the ability to shift thinking strategies based on changing situations. When you are emotionally resilient, you can let go of rigid beliefs. Consider alternative viewpoints. Adjust your approach when needed. This flexibility makes your thinking more adaptive and effective. Building emotional resilience for better thinking. Develop awareness of your emotional triggers. Know what situations or thoughts provoke strong emotional reactions. Awareness is the first step to managing them. Practice mindful breathing and grounding techniques. Simple breathing exercises can calm your nervous system and restore clarity. Taking a moment to pause prevents reactive thinking. Reframe challenges as growth opportunities. Instead of seeing obstacles as threats, view them as chances to learn and improve. This mindset fosters resilience and optimism. Build a supportive network. Connecting with empathetic others helps you process emotions and gain perspective. Social support is a powerful buffer against stress. Engage in regular reflection. Journaling or quiet contemplation helps you process emotions and extract lessons. Reflection deepens understanding and builds resilience over time. How emotional resilience enhances decision-making. Resilient thinkers can weigh options carefully, even under pressure. They avoid rash decisions driven by panic or frustration. Instead, they make thoughtful choices grounded in both reason and emotional insight. Overcoming setbacks with resilience. Everyone faces failure. The key is how you respond. Emotional resilience turns setbacks into feedback. It helps you extract wisdom from difficulty and persist with renewed clarity. The resilient mindset, a foundation for lifelong thinking. By cultivating emotional resilience, you create a stable mental foundation. This foundation supports deeper thinking, creativity, and effective problem solving. Resilience doesn't eliminate difficulties but transforms your relationship with them. It allows you to think clearly, even when life feels anything but clear. Chapter 14. The power of focused attention. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Endless notifications, multitasking demands, and a constant flood of information. Yet focused attention is the cornerstone of effective thinking. Without it, even the brightest ideas slip away unnoticed and deep understanding remains elusive. What is focused attention? Focused attention is the deliberate act of concentrating your mind on a single task, idea, or problem. It means tuning out irrelevant stimuli and resisting the urge to jump between thoughts. This mental discipline allows you to absorb information deeply, connect ideas clearly, solve problems with precision. Why focus matters for thinking. Our brains are powerful but limited in processing capacity. When attention scatters, thinking becomes fragmented. Key insights are lost in noise. Focused attention helps you enter a state of flow, a state of energized concentration where creativity and problem-solving flourish. The science behind focused neuroscience shows that the brain's prefrontal cortex governs attention and executive function. Training. Focus strengthens neural pathways that support sustained mental effort. Conversely, chronic distractions weaken these pathways, making deep thinking harder. Common obstacles to focused thinking. Digital distractions. Smartphones, social media, and emails pull your attention constantly. Multitasking myths. Trying to do many things at once reduces overall efficiency. Mental fatigue. Stress and lack of rest impair concentration. Internal chatter. Worries, daydreams, and doubts break your flow. Techniques to cultivate focused attention. 1. Create a distraction-free environment, turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and find a quiet space. Set clear boundaries for focused work time. Use the Pomodoro technique, work in focused bursts, e.g. 25 minutes, followed by short breaks. This method balances intense focus with rest. Practice. Mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness trains your brain to notice when attention wanders and gently bring it back. Regular practice boosts sustained focus. Set clear goals, define what you want to achieve before you start thinking or working. Clear objectives guide your attention and keep you on track. Limit multitasking. Focus on one problem or idea at a time. This deepens understanding and reduces errors. How focus transforms. Thinking with focused attention, you can analyze complex problems in depth, recognize subtle patterns and connections, develop nuanced arguments, retain information more effectively. Focused thinking leads to smarter decisions and greater creativity. Building focus as a daily habit. Focus is a muscle. Strengthen it with daily practice. Start small. A few minutes of undistracted thinking each day. Gradually increase the time as your mental stamina grows. The reward of focused thinking. The ability to focus transforms your thinking from scattered noise to clear insight. It turns surface-level understanding into deep knowledge, and it empowers you to solve life's challenges with confidence and clarity. Chapter 14. The power of focused attention. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Endless notifications, multitasking demands, and a constant flood of information. Yet focused attention is the cornerstone of effective thinking. Without it, even the brightest ideas slip away unnoticed and deep understanding remains elusive. What is focused attention? Focused attention is the deliberate act of concentrating your mind on a single task, idea, or problem. It means tuning out irrelevant stimuli and resisting the urge to jump between thoughts. This mental discipline allows you to absorb information deeply, connect ideas clearly, solve problems with precision. Why focus matters for thinking. Our brains are powerful but limited in processing capacity. When attention scatters, thinking becomes fragmented. Key insights are lost in noise. Focused attention helps you enter a state of flow, a state of energized concentration where creativity and problem-solving flourish. The science behind focused neuroscience shows that the brain's prefrontal cortex governs attention and executive function. Training. Focus strengthens neural pathways that support sustained mental effort. Conversely, chronic distractions weaken these pathways, making deep thinking harder. Common obstacles to focused thinking. Digital distractions. Smartphones, social media, and emails pull your attention constantly. Multitasking myths. Trying to do many things at once reduces overall efficiency. Mental fatigue. Stress and lack of rest impair concentration. Internal chatter. Worries, daydreams, and doubts break your flow. Techniques to cultivate focused. Attention 1. Create a distraction-free environment, turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and find a quiet space. Set clear boundaries for focused work time. Use the Pomodoro technique, work in focused bursts, e.g. 25 minutes, followed by short breaks. This method balances intense focus with rest. Practice. Mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness trains your brain to notice when attention wanders and gently bring it back. Regular practice boosts sustained focus. Set clear goals, define what you want to achieve before you start thinking or working. Clear objectives guide your attention and keep you on track. Limit multitasking. Focus on one problem or idea at a time. This deepens understanding and reduces errors. How focus transforms. Thinking with focused attention, you can analyze complex problems in depth, recognize subtle patterns and connections, develop nuanced arguments, retain information more effectively. Focused thinking leads to smarter decisions and greater creativity. Building focus as a daily habit. Focus is a muscle. Strengthen it with daily practice. Start small. A few minutes of undistracted thinking each day. Gradually increase the time as your mental stamina grows. The reward of focused thinking. The ability to focus transforms your thinking from scattered noise to clear insight. It turns surface-level understanding into deep knowledge, and it empowers you to solve life's challenges with confidence and clarity. Chapter 15. The influence of environment on thinking. When we think about thinking, we often imagine the mind as an isolated powerhouse, a self-contained internal engine churning ideas, reasoning through problems, and generating creativity. But the truth is far more nuanced. Our thinking does not happen in a vacuum. It is profoundly shaped, molded, and even limited by the environment that surrounds us. From the physical spaces we occupy, the social dynamics we engage in, to the cultural and digital contexts we immerse ourselves within. Environment influences how clearly we think, how creatively we imagine, and how effectively we solve problems. Understanding this powerful relationship between environment and thought is a crucial step in reclaiming the forgotten skill of thinking. The physical environment. The brain's external landscape. The spaces we inhabit directly impact cognitive functioning. Consider how different environments evoke different mental states. A quiet library encourages concentration. A cluttered desk invites distraction. A noisy cafe might stimulate creative conversation, or for some, cause frustration. Sensory. Inputs and cognitive load. Our brains constantly process sensory inputs. Sights, sounds, smells, textures, temperature, lighting. While many of these inputs happen outside our conscious awareness, they still influence our mental state. Noise. Background noise can either enhance or disrupt thinking. Studies show moderate ambient noise, around 70 decibels, like a bustling cafe, may boost creativity, while loud or unpredictable noise often hinders focus and working memory. Lighting. Natural light is linked to better mood, alertness, and cognitive performance. Poor lighting can cause fatigue and reduce mental clarity. Clutter. Physical clutter competes for attention and increases cognitive load, leaving less mental energy for complex thinking. Temperature. Extreme temperatures distract and reduce mental efficiency. Designing spaces for thought. The rise of workplace and educational design reflects growing awareness of environment's role in cognition. Quiet zones encourage deep, uninterrupted thinking. Collaborative areas foster brainstorming and social learning. Biophilic design, incorporating plants and natural elements, reduces stress and improves creativity. The key takeaway: intentionally shaping your physical environment can enhance your ability to think deeply. Social environment. The company you keep. Humans are inherently social creatures. Our thoughts are influenced by the people we surround ourselves with. The power of conversation. Engaging in meaningful dialogue sharpens thinking. Through conversations, ideas are challenged, expanded, and refined. Socratic questioning is a classic method of using social interaction to deepen thought. Feedback from others highlights blind spots in our thinking. Social norms and cognitive bias. Conversely, social environments can also constrain thought. Groupthink pressures individuals to conform, suppressing dissenting ideas. Social identity can bias perception and judgment. Being aware of these dynamics helps maintain intellectual independence. The role of mentors and peers. Surrounding yourself with curious, thoughtful people nurtures your thinking skill. Mentors model disciplined inquiry. Peers provide support and challenge. Cultural environment. The context of thought culture forms the lens through which we interpret the world. Language shapes cognition. The words and metaphors available affect what concepts we can grasp. Cultural values influence priorities and thinking. Individualism promotes self-directed thought. Collectivism emphasizes group harmony. Educational traditions affect how reasoning and creativity are taught. Understanding cultural influences reveals how thinking is not universal, but situated. Digital environment. The new cognitive habitat. Our contemporary environment includes a vast digital dimension, information abundance and cognitive overload. The internet provides endless information, but this abundance can overwhelm. Constant notifications fragment attention. Algorithmic filters create echo chambers. Misinformation distorts reality and impairs judgment. Tools and platforms. Shaping thought, digital tools can both aid and hinder thinking. Search engines accelerate access to knowledge. Note-taking and mind-mapping apps support organization. Social media fosters rapid but shallow exchanges. The challenge, to harness digital resources without losing depth. Environmental triggers and habitual thinking hour. Environment cues habitual responses. Mental shortcuts that save effort but risk shallow thinking. Seeing a smartphone prompts distraction. Certain places or times trigger automatic routines. By redesigning triggers, we can encourage more mindful thinking habits. Changing your environment to enhance thinking. Practical strategies to optimize your thinking environment. Declutter your workspace regularly. Schedule time in quiet or nature-rich places. Limit multitasking by creating focus zones. Seek diverse social and cultural inputs. Use digital tools mindfully. Set boundaries. Environment as extension of the mind. The theory of extended cognition argues that tools and environment are not just aids but part of the thinking process itself. Writing notes externalizes memory. Whiteboards and diagrams externalize problem solving. Collaborative environments distribute cognitive load. Recognizing this expands the scope of what thinking means. Conclusion. Mastering your environment to master your mind thinking is a skill exercised within an ecosystem. An ecosystem shaped by physical, social, cultural, and digital environments. To reclaim the forgotten skill of thinking, you must attend not only to your mind, but to your surroundings. By cultivating environments that nurture curiosity, focus, and creativity, you unlock your full cognitive potential.